I headed to my local dollar store and headed right to the cleaning aisle. There, I picked up some essentials like a wooden scrub brush, some power wash, some rubber gloves, things like multi-purpose cleaner, some nice air fresheners, and then as well, I made sure to grab a pretty candle, some dish towels, and then after I was done there, I took a stop to my local grocery store and picked up a 6-pack of paper towel and a 12-pack of toilet paper. We're going to begin with the paper towel. This is going to be our base, so this is why we want a good sturdy 6-pack. Then we're going to put our 12-pack of toilet paper on top, and then I'm also going to throw in a box of Kleenex. Once these are all together, this is the Wonder Dots. These are going to be used to hold everything in place. These little glue dots are amazing for getting things to stick where you want them to. Make sure it's nice and secure, and then I'm going to add in the glue dots onto the Kleenex box. When you're putting down the toilet paper, you want to make sure that you leave this nice edge here. So the edge is what we're going to be using to put our things on. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a dry fit, just placing everything on just to make sure it fits nicely. And then once I have it arranged where I like it, I'm going to add the glue dots to the bottoms of all my accessories here. So I'm going to go along making sure I put them in place and that they're nice and attached to the paper towel. Once I have these all in place here, I'm going to add in my other fun extras like the wooden scrub brush, and then I'm going to go ahead as well and add in some pretty ribbon, and we're going to dress this up. So I'm going to start at the bottom and then put a ribbon around the top tier as well, and then add in a little piece of decorative lace just to add in that nice embellishment. Once this is done, I'm going to come in and add in my last few remaining items like the dish towels, the rubber gloves, and just to make it a little bit more pretty. And we're going to wrap that bottom ribbon around those again. To finish it off, I'm going to add in a cute little bow here, and I'm going to use the same ribbon that I put around the cake, but as well, I'm going to add in a little bit of extra linen white ribbon just to give it a little bit more oomph. Once that ribbon is tied, I'm going to go ahead and use a glue dot again and just stick that right in the middle. With my ribbon attached, this is my final project. So this is a great housewarming gift for somebody who's moving out for the first time, or maybe a child that's heading off to college for the first time. You can actually really give this gift to anyone, and it doesn't actually cost a ton of money. I would say the total cost for me here was about $45. I really hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for tuning into Home Talk, and we'll see you again on another video.
Check out your local garden center and see what spring flowers are available. Shop your house for a woven basket. First, spray paint your basket in a moss green color. Once the basket is completely dry, take a can of clear spray adhesive and spray a small section on the side of the basket. Take clumps of green moss and press it onto the sticky side of the basket. Continue to press moss onto the sprayed area on the basket. You can manipulate your moss so it is a little thinner and covers more space on the basket. Continue until the base of the basket is covered. Don't worry if every spot is covered. The green basket color will disappear behind the different green shades of the moss. You will also want to spray the rim of the basket with clear adhesive and press the moss onto the basket rim edge. Have fun playing with the placement of the different shades of the moss. You don't need to glue moss to the inside of the basket. Instead, take a clear plastic water tray and press it into the bottom of the basket so it is protected. Now, grab some scissors and start to cut apart the different cells of the flower 6-pack. Start to place the individual plants into the moss-covered basket and arrange them so any blooms or buds are facing outward. Fill in around the bottom of the plants with the moss so the plant cells disappear. Depending on your weather, place this moss-covered basket indoors or out and enjoy watching each bloom emerge as spring appears. Look for flowers in a multi-pack that can be split apart. Take your laundry basket and drill several holes in the bottom with a drill. Line the laundry basket with a burlap bag or burlap fabric. Start to fill the burlap-lined laundry basket with potting soil. Fill to about an inch from the top of the basket. Then, cut the excess burlap from the top of the basket with some scissors. Starting with the second row of side basket holes, cut the plastic between two holes to create one larger hole. Then, cut out the burlap from that larger hole to access the dirt. Take one of your plants and plant it in the hole by pushing it into the dirt behind it. It helps to use your other hand to grab the plant as it comes through the hole and press dirt down around it on the inside of the basket. It will work best if you alternate holes for planting, so your flowers have room to grow and expand in their new basket home. Once you have the sides of your basket planted, you can plant the top. You can use one group of plants or continue to plant individual flowers from a multi-pack. Set your new planted flower basket outdoors and enjoy watching your flowers grow up the sides of the basket. The next time you are at a thrift store, pick up some inexpensive wicker baskets. For a basket with an already dark finish, dip the paintbrush in the paint and then pounce or repeatedly press the loaded brush onto a paper plate to remove some of the paint. Take the brush and lightly brush the paint onto the basket in the main direction of the basket weave. Don't press heavily on the brush, but rather whisk it lightly against the side of the basket. This basket finish looks fantastic, styled with flowers or green plants. Now, take a wicker basket with a very light finish. Spray paint the basket in light layers with an oil-rubbed bronze color. Let the basket dry completely between light layers for best coverage. Using a couple of different paper plates is a good way to make sure you have the amount of paint removed that you want. Paint in light layers. You will notice that the paint dries very fast between layers because there is actually very little paint used. I hope this inspired you to give inexpensive wicker baskets an updated look with paint.
All right, so we are going to start our project with these flexible plastic garden fences. I got mine at Dollar Tree. You should only need about 4 of these for this project. And I'm going to start with the first 2. I'm going to start by cutting the bottoms off of this. Just using regular scissors for this part. You want to make sure you're using sharp scissors. These ones are a little dull. So now that I've cut the spikes off, I'm gonna get those out of the way. What we're gonna be doing is we are going to be laying our pieces of garden fence kind of overlapping. So I'm gonna have it overlap about this much. So these 2 pieces are kind of overlapping with the other side. But I'm just gonna cut it and I'm going to secure these 2 pieces together. Now you can use a variety of things for this. I'm going to be using floral wire for this. I'm going to be securing this on 3 points. So I'm probably going to secure it up here and here because I don't want it wiggling too much. So see if you only secure it in one spot, it's really going to be a little harder to work with, especially with what we're going to do for this project. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically connect these on the same place over here. We still want to maintain that round shape, but we'll get into that in a bit. So yeah, we're going to do the same thing essentially on the other side, and we will be back. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our round piece and we're going to lay it over, because essentially we're going to be using this as our bottom. So yeah, so we're going to use this over our bottom, kind of best fit and see where we need to cut along the fence here. So I think I'm actually gonna cut right here. So we're gonna set this aside. We're gonna place this over and we are going to work on attaching this top piece to this bottom piece. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna start in 4 corners and then I'm going to see what other positions need to be added. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to cut off the excess over here. So if you can see, we have a little bit of excess here. I'm gonna flip this over. I'm just gonna make sure I cut off as much of it as I can. There we go. All right, so now we have this round piece finished. We got our base done. So we're gonna move on to our next step, which is creating a top. All right, for this next step, we're gonna take our fourth piece of fence and we are going to essentially be separating it. So I'm gonna cut down the middle first just to make it a little easier to work with. Okay, so we are gonna start by using this bottom half piece and we're gonna cut the spikes off again like we did on the last couple of fences for the basket. And so we're gonna keep this side nice and we're gonna cut right above this little guy right here, this little piece. And we're gonna go straight across. Okay, so we have this piece already. I'm gonna put it on this to the side so we can work on the other one. For this piece, we are going to cut across, but we are gonna cut across this top part. We're gonna get rid of the little spiky guys and the little hoops. So what we're gonna do for this part is we are just gonna lay them on top of one another and we're just gonna secure them in place with our wire. So pulling out my handy dandy wire again. We're gonna do the same thing we did to secure the other part of our basket. So stay tuned, we will be back when this is all secured together and reinforced with our wire. We're gonna do it exactly the same way. We just want these two pieces to stay attached. All right, so this is now secured. So we are going to attach this piece to our lower part with the wire, and then we are going to attach it on the other side. So it's gonna become a basket. All right, so now that this is all attached, we are going to add a coat of some of my Rust-Oleum chalked linen white. You can paint this obviously any color you want, but I want to give it kind of an aged rustic vibe. So I'm going to be using a normal brush and probably a foam brush for this step. We're just going to start applying our paint. And like I said, we want this to kind of look a little rustic, so it doesn't need to be perfectly coated, but we're gonna cover the entire thing and we'll let it dry. All right, so now we've let the paint dry for our basket and I'm gonna add my own little spin to this. So you can stop at this point if you'd like, but I'm going to be adding some twine to my basket in certain areas just to give it like a really nice decorative accent and also to keep the basket in the position that I want it to be. So first I'm going to start with the sides of my handles. But I want to kind of, like I said, reinforce this so it doesn't go anywhere, but also kind of give it like a rustic look. And so I'm probably gonna have to ball up my twine a little bit just so it's easier to work with. Essentially, I'm just gonna try and kind of cover up this area. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep wrapping my twine, so we will be back when we're ready to move on to the next step. So now I've wrapped the top and the sides with the twine. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna go put it out on my screened-in porch where it's gonna live.
What if I told you there was a way to light up and give some life to your kitchen without spending a lot of money or a lot of time? First thing you got to do is head down to the hardware store and grab you some command strips. These are ones made specifically for holding rope lights. They're really easy to use. All you got to do is clip off the clips. They come just bundled up together. They're easy to take apart. And then they come with some really good adhesive strips that go on the back of the clips. Just push those on there and hold them in place for a little bit. It's time to put them onto the cabinet. You want to space these every 1 to 2 feet. Once you get them all on there and put them in place, make sure you let it sit for about 30 minutes. You don't want to start putting your rope light on right away. Again, they're going to go on the sides, anywhere you're going to run the rope, including the bottom of the cabinets. That's going to give it a nice glow, especially what we're looking for. Once we get all of these in, we're going to actually take our rope light and put it in the clips. This rope light is made by Govee, and it's great because it's got a wonderful app you can use. All you got to do is take the rope light and clip it into the clips. Bend it around, and it's really flexible, so it goes up and under everywhere you need. And I'm going to go ahead and put my benches back in, open up the app, and get it started. Once it loads up, it's ready to go. You can pick so many different scenes that you want to use. In fact, you can actually get the mood ready based on a holiday. Once you get it, there it is, a nice glow. And when the lights go off, it gives you a nice night light so you're not stubbing your toes walking through the kitchen at night. Now, take this. You can actually pick a theme based on a holiday. Go ahead and scroll on down, and let's say we want to choose Christmas or Valentine's Day. Watch this. It's going to give you a nice pink glow. Thank you for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, pick up a few of these common household items to get your kitchen organized. So I'm going to begin here in my pot and pan drawer. I have a nice spot for my pots, but then the lids are just kind of floating here in this pull-out drawer. So I'm going to begin by taking the self-adhesive hooks we got, and I'm going to hold up my pot lid, and then I'm going to place them around the pot lid so that they're nice and snug. And then this is just going to help guide where to put the hooks. And then you'll see when I open the door here, the pot lids are mounted on the side of my cupboard, and that frees up space underneath for the drawer. Next, I'm going to head under my sink here, and this place is just kind of a catch-all for all my cleaning products, and they're just kind of very messily stored under here. So I actually got this container a while ago at Dollar Tree. It's an over-the-hook door container, and it actually fits the kitchen bags very nicely, so you can take the roll out of that big clunky box. Next, I'm going to take this over-the-door hook storage piece that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use it to hang all of my scrub brushes for when I do the dishes, and this just keeps them off my counter and out of the way and easily accessible within arm's reach for when I'm doing the dishes. I'm then going to take this smaller over the hook door one, and I thought this would be perfect for my Swiffers and my cleaning dusting supplies to just hang here on the inside of the cabinet. Next, I'm going to take this magazine rack, and I'm actually going to put it into a big large tote, and this is going to store all my big larger items that don't really fit into cabinetry nicely, and then I can just take this tote and put it in my pantry. I hope that you found these organizational tips and hacks helpful, and maybe you can use some of these in your kitchen.
Is it time to get your pantry in order? Here's where to start. Begin by emptying out your entire pantry, but don't start organizing yet. Just empty it out. I know it's hard to not put things in piles, but we'll get to it later. Once you're done, your counters should look like this. But don't worry, we'll fix it. Next, clean and measure your space. Don't go shopping before you measure to avoid buying too many things or things that don't fit. I'll be using a few different organizers like clear plastic bins, wicker baskets, turntables, and airtight containers. Next, figure out your design. This took me a little to get the look I wanted down, but don't be afraid to change it up a few times. Once your design is set, start refilling your pantry. I utilize a turntable for cans that normally take up a lot of space. This helped me to organize them in one place, but still keep them at arm's reach. You could also use a turntable for things like spices, oils, or even baby food. I used a wicker basket to store vegetables like potatoes and onions for easy access, but without the ugly bags. Using airtight containers for snacks eliminates bulky bags and lets you see how much snack you actually have left. Clear organizers are great for storing items like breads or even baking supplies. In a different cabinet, I moved baking materials to a higher shelf since it's not something I access every day. This freed up a ton of space in my pantry. So once I categorized each bin and returned the design to how I figured it before, my pantry is done. How much better does this look? Everything makes sense for my home and my lifestyle, and it's super easy to find. I hope this inspires you to tackle your messy pantry.
One way that I get bowls to stop banging around in the drawer is to use drawer liner. Now, what you will do is remove all of the items from the drawer. As you lay your easy liner out, fold the liner over itself to create a line, and you're going to use this line to cut. Then you'll take your easy liner and place in the drawer. It doesn't have to be perfect to work. Now we're going to put all of the bowls back into the drawer. Your mixing bowls are super tidy inside your drawer. There's no more banging around. Another easy hack is to store all of your flours or powders in canisters. Now, it doesn't have to be all the same type of canister. You can use mason jars. You can use jars similar to these, which are OXO brand, or similar to these. It really does not matter how you store them, but to preserve the freshness, it is a great hack to keep all of your flowers in a canister. But if you're like me and you store your flowers in a drawer, it is really helpful to label the tops of your canisters. I do that by using wine pens. They are perfect for writing on the top of all of your canisters because they are easily erasable. You just need water and soap. Now in this canister, I have all of and on the back of my oatmeal bag, it says how much oats to water ratio you have. So I can write on my canister, 1/2 cup oats to 1 cup water. And now I have the instructions on the back of the canister without having to store the bulky bag that it comes in. Plus, it'll stay fresher in a canister much longer than it will in a bag. Kitchen utensil drawers can easily get all crazy. So in order to keep them tidy, I like using drawer dividers. I use a drawer divider for each one of the categories of cooking utensils that I have. Now, I've already lined this drawer using drawer liner, shelf liner. That way my items don't slide around when I open up the drawer. Then I'm going to take my drawer divider, push in the back, and push it in to a spot. Then I'm going to take all the same type of items and put them in this spot. I'm starting with grilling items because we don't really have that many grilling items. So we're going to place the grilling items inside. Now we're going to take another drawer and we're going to set that in. And we're going to repeat this to find other kitchen items that will go together. Now all of our drawers are organized based on categories using drawer dividers. Water bottle lids can easily take over an entire cabinet or drawer. So to keep them organized, use a small bin. This bin is perfect for holding all of the tops and straws for our water bottles. Then we can store all of them together. So then you can take the bin and store it where you keep your water bottles. And now all of the lids are stored together with your water bottles.
My neighbor had an old dresser across the street, but I knew I could fix it up, and the first thing I got to do is get rid of all the rotted and torn up materials. Then I got to take off all of the hardware and the doors on the bottom. I'm not going to need those for the transformation I'm going to make. I also want to get rid of the hardware on the drawers. Now on the top of this, it was pretty beat up. It had been out in the rain and the sun. So I started with 80 grit sandpaper and started going up and down. Once I got it all sanded off, I also needed to go with 120 up to 220. Now sanding produces a lot of dust. So the next thing I did was make sure I got my air hose out and got all the dust off. Got to make sure we get that clean as good as possible. Now I wanted to get rid of the railings that were on the bottom because I don't need those. I want an open concept. So I cut each one of those and pulled them apart. Next, I got some Lawan plywood. This is great for shelving. I wanted to put this on the bottom because it's also waterproof just in case anything spills on it. Once I get it in place, just some small staples will hold it exactly where I need it. Next, it was time to prep for painting. I'm going to fill all the holes from all the hinges and everything like that. And then it's time to go ahead and put the primer on. Primer always goes before paint. You need something to adhere it to the cabinet. The next step was to put some good high quality cabinet paint on there. Once that primer's done, you just go ahead and put all the paint on. This one took 3 coats. Next, it was time for staining. I wanted to add some shelves on the middle, and I wanted to go with a dark stain, so that's why I went with walnut. So I'm going to do all the boards for shelving and that Lawan plywood on the bottom. It's going to get some stain also because I want every one of them to match. Then it was time to do the top. Once it's all sanded down, I put the stain on there, and it took actually 2 coats of stain. You ever see that professional finish that gives it just a durable, clean look? Well, that's what this polyurethane is for. You put that on and it's going to give it a nice, shiny look to it, and it's going to make it nice and durable. A couple of coats of those. Now it's time back for that middle shelf. I took those boards that I stained earlier and I put them in place and used a few brad nails to hold them down. Now it's time for some new backing. I got some of that Luan plywood extra hanging out, so I grabbed some of that and cut it to size. Again, some staples all the way around the edges will hold it in place. Now it's time to get some new hardware. This is really inexpensive and it changes the look, and it's black so it stands out. Now the drawers need some liners in there because it's kind of rotted out, but it looks good. We're going to close that up. You remember that old dresser in the driveway? Now look at this. What a transformation. I love how it turned into this kitchen island buffet table. It just turned out absolutely amazing. There's no reason to throw an old piece of furniture out when you can look at it, use your imagination, and upcycle it into a work of art. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did, and I hope it inspired you to do your own upcycle project. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.
I think you'll be amazed at what you can create using discarded furniture. I took some bamboo sticks, which I had purchased from Amazon, and I measured the length of the front of the drawer. I cut the bamboo sticks to this length, decided that I was going to remove and discard the top drawer. I removed the old doorknobs from the remaining drawers, and then I sanded them down lightly. I spaced out my bamboo sticks, and then I applied them, simply using liquid nails. I took the drawers and the cabinets outside, and I spray painted them. While I was outside, I also cut a thin piece of plywood so that it would replace where that top drawer was that I had removed. I simply slid this into place and continued painting the entire nightstand. I added new pulls, which I had purchased online as well. It was a really quick and easy project to do, and I love my new fluted nightstand.
Grab the brightest paints you have and use them to create a one-of-a-kind piece. I've gone ahead and given it a good cleaning. I'm using chalk paint because I know it will adhere to whatever paint is already on this piece. Just putting on blocks of paint where I think I'd like that color to be when I'm done. Now that I have all of my blocks done, I want to give it a spritz of water. Keeping the paints nice and wet helps to blend them really easily together. And I'm going to keep switching paint brushes because I want to try and blend only the two colors that are next to each other. While the front is drying, I'm going to go ahead and paint the other sides with the bright pink color. To finish the piece off, I'm going to just dry brush on a little more color. This little wardrobe certainly is bright and cheery now. It's fit for anyone who loves a vibrant pop of color. I grabbed a can of regular oven cleaner and I'm going to start by spraying the entire piece generously. After leaving the oven cleaner on this piece for about a half an hour, using a stiff bristle brush, I'm going to start scrubbing. I can already see the oven cleaner is working to remove the stain. To get the remaining oven cleaner off, I'm going to give it a quick rinse with the hose and then leave it to dry out in the sun. I want to do another round of oven cleaner though to remove the stain from the underside and a few little areas that I missed the first time. Now that the wood is completely dry, I want to finish up with a quick sanding of the wood. I can't believe how wonderful this piece turned out using the oven cleaner hack.
I'm going to give this old chair a makeover. I've cleaned it really well, and when it's dry I'll give it a light sanding, and then I'm going to give it 2 coats of primer. So I'm laying down quite a thin layer of the varnish, making sure that the seat is covered. I'm working in 2 halves here, and then using the spray bottle, spray the back of the paper. So using the scrunched up piece of plastic wrap, start in the center and work your way out, smoothing the paper as you go. Then when you've done that half, do the same thing on the other side. When it's all completely dry, use a very sharp knife to remove any excess paper. I'm going to use a spray varnish first, and then when that's dry, I gave it 3 coats of a water-based varnish. Here's my chair. I actually decided to do the backrest as well. I'm really happy with how this has turned out.
Found this beat up table at the thrift store last week and it's quite damaged. I'm going to start by painting my table white. I'm going to add all kinds of bright colored paint into my container, and I'm going to add some texture into the paint, and I'm going to use the Fusion Fresco powder, but you could use baking soda and mix it into each of those colors. I'm going to start putting it over the stencil, and we want to start just spreading this all over, and I'm going to hold down the stencil as much as possible here. Okay, and once you have your stencil completely covered like this, you want to very gently try and take off a little bit off of the top. We can peel up that stencil. How gorgeous is that? Who would have thought that you could turn a $7 thrift store find into this beautiful piece of art with just a stencil and some paint. I'm going to give the surface of the cabinet a quick sanding. I'm going to paint the cabinet with some creamy white chalk paint. I'm going to brush on a layer of decoupage glue and then lay on my paper. So I'm going to use my hands to flatten it out. I want to slice off the rest of the paper and want to give it one final coat of the decoupage glue. I can use a sanding block to gently take off any excess. I want to also remove the paper from those. I'm going to finish it all off with a coat of wax. My filing cabinet looks incredible now.
I've got this old glass table, get it all cleaned up. I'm going to tape around all of the edges. Next, we're going to do that 2-part epoxy. We're going to pour it halfway down the table. Next, we're going to mix a little bit of teal. We're going to pour it out. We're going to go with a darker green. And you're going to start spreading out that white. Start getting rid of all that flaky paint. Start spraying it with some good spray paint. It was time to put on the darkest color we have. Put some more waves on and spread it all out. What a wonderful addition to the back porch.
To get the table ready, I'm going to start by giving it a quick clean. Next, I want to give it a light sanding. I want to wipe it again. I like to start with the pedestal first and then do the top. I'm going to add and combine some water with some white paint. To apply the wash, I'm going to use this chip brush because the bristles are natural and uneven. To soften up those lines a little bit, I can wipe them with just a damp paper towel. I absolutely love how pretty this table is now and how much the lighter color changes its look. I found this fun shower curtain. I'm going to start by painting the table. Use a utility knife and run it along the edge. I want to seal the paint to protect it. Put a layer of Mod Podge all over the glass, and now I'm going to lay the shower curtain onto it. I want to trim off the excess, add one more layer of Mod Podge over the top for added protection. This little table is so cute now, perfect for sunny days on the balcony.
Head down to the local hardware store and choose some of the inexpensive whiteboards. I brought the table outside and set it up. All I had to do was take the 1x6s and lay them out. First thing I want to do is measure the board for some of my cross beams. I'm going to cut those a little bit short using my miter saw, and then I'm going to mark out where I'm going to place the boards because I need to lay some good wood glue down. Then I'm going to take my cross board and use finish nails to put it in, and it's time to put the side pieces on. I'm going to use some 1x3s with miter joints. We're going to put the glue on there and use the nails to put it in place. I'm going to go ahead and use some wood putty, sanded the whole table down, and it was time for staining. And I go ahead and do the whole table. Clear polyurethane. Go ahead and put the new wood table down on top, and it turned out beautiful.
I'm giving this little side table a makeover. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually give it a coat of black paint. Now I've taken some creamy white paint and I've added water to it. I've ripped up some newspaper and I'm going to apply some of this paint. Taking pieces of the scrunched up paper, I press it into the paint and wiggle it around. Keep repeating the process until you get to the end. Now the tabletop is dry, I'm going to use this stencil. I'm going to give it 2 coats of this gloss decorator's varnish. Here's my finished tabletop. I think it looks quite effective. It's a very easy technique to do. Drawn a line straight down the middle of the drawers, and I'm going to use a red and a blue paint. When the first colour has dried, I then take the other colour and paint on top of it. Then take your spray bottle and spritz over the wet paint, and then set a timer for 3 minutes. When the time is up, we have to start removing the water now. And I use a toilet roll. Now I'm moving on to the top of the dresser and I've split the top in half. Now all my drawers are done and dry, and I'm taking a stencil and some modelling paste and applying it to the stencil. I finished off the dresser by doing the stencil again on the top, and here it is. I hope you enjoyed this and you're inspired to have a go at this crazy technique. I'm going to apply both these colours, the green and the blue, randomly over the top. I'm now going to apply 1 coat of a water-based top coat. I've used some cardboard and I'm just going to cut 1 edge, cutting very randomly on the bottom, grooves in it. In here I have some dark green paint and I've combined it with their water-based top coat. I apply the green paint on top and then taking my cardboard, going to randomly scrape into it. Okay, so then we go on to the next bit, working just randomly, but I decided to follow some of the contours with a metallic gold gel pen. And here's my finished table. I actually decided to paint the edges gold to tie in the gold that I had done on the top.
To start, I'm removing the kitchen outlet covers in the kitchen backsplash area, then cleaning the wall. Next, I'm painting the entire backsplash wall with a fresh coat of wall paint. Now I'm measuring the vertical space between the top cupboards and the lower backsplash riser that's attached to the wall. I'm now taking those measurements and transferring them to a few strips of 2.5-inch MDF primed trim molding, then cut to my desired length using a miter saw. Next, each molding piece is getting painted with the same paint as my backsplash wall. Since I want the adhesion to be removable, I'm using command strips, which can be removed at a later date without leaving any damage, making this idea rent-friendly. The large molding piece is being placed first. Next, I'm positioning, then sticking each molding piece vertically along the entire backsplash where desired. And here's how easy it is to remove the wood strips. The result is a gorgeous board and batten kitchen backsplash that resembles a wooden feature wall without the bigger expense or endless trimming fuss a real wood wall would entail. I hope this inspires you to turn a simple backsplash area into a super stylish look that doesn't break the bank. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and see you next time.
Grab a 1/4-inch thick ply, wood numbers, and a bunch of flour. I started by cutting the 1/4-inch thick plywood. Next, I began assembling. I glued the frame pieces on top and either sides. Then I put together the pieces for the box. The box is then attached to the backer board. I added extra weights on top to help it bond. Next, I sanded all the sides to smooth the edges and then painted the whole box. I applied attractive base colors to both sides of the signboard. While this dries, I crafted permanent vinyl stickers using a Cricut machine. Next, I added 2 white hooks underneath the box. I drilled holes to the signboard and attached twine to hang it on the hooks. I then installed sawtooth hanger on the back of the baseboard. After that, I placed some foam inside the box and arranged colorful flowers to my liking. Next, I painted the wooden numbers black and fixed them on the box.
Take 2 styrofoam blocks and glue them together using a cool melt glue gun. Take that wire hanger and bend it. Take 2 pipe cleaners and twist the ends together. Do this as well with another set of 2 pipe cleaners. Position the wire hanger hook on top of the styrofoam block and secure it by wrapping the pipe cleaners up and around the hook. Twist the ends securely and tuck them in. Start to stick the faux stems into the top and sides of the styrofoam block. Now take some faux flowers, continue to fill in the empty spaces with other flowers, and hang your new flower arrangement.
I went to my local craft store and I found these adorable miniature watering cans. Here is the glue we're going to be using. I'm going to place a little bit on wherever the metals are touching. Now we can take our flowers and begin working them in. Now we're going to do the same thing to the second watering can.
I began my project by taking my drill. I just made the watering can holes on the spout a little bit larger. I took my string of fairy lights and I pushed them up through the opening of the spout. You're going to weave it back down, out the opening again. You're going to repeat this process. I drilled some holes in the sides just so that you could see the lights from inside the can as well. This is my flat back basket, and then this is the arrangement that I have that I stick in here every spring. So I stick 1 command strip on the glass on my door and then the other one on the back of the basket.
Grab tin cans and a napkin for this brilliant porch decor. I washed 3 tin cans from the recycling, removed the labels, and scuffed up the surface with a wire brush. I wiped clean with a cloth and spray painted the outside of each can with Rust-Oleum paint and primer white spray paint. While that was drying, I spray painted some metal chain black. I set that aside to dry. I used a small drill bit to drill 3 holes evenly spaced along the top edge of the tin can. I drilled holes in the same spots at the bottom edge and the same spots again at the very bottom of the tin can. Then I cut the napkins into smaller pieces and cut around the birds. I painted outdoor Mod Podge on the tin can, placed the napkin pieces on, and sealed it with more Mod Podge. I did this for all 3 tin cans, then used a nail to poke through the holes I drilled to make sure the glue didn't close them over. I let the cans dry. 24 hours is ideal.
Do you have random faux flowers around your house that don't seem to go together? Start by organizing them by color and type of flower. Fill the bottom of the planter with floral foam, stacked vertically next to each other. Tuck them in tightly and fill as much of the planter as possible. Once the foam is snug in the planter, take wooden floral picks and press them into the floral foam with about an inch sticking out. Now, take more floral foam and press them on top of the floral picks so the block is secure and doesn't move. Next, create 4 to 5 bows from ribbon and floral wire. Once all the wire is secure, stick the wood pick into the side of a foam block in the planter. Now, let's add the flowers. Think in terms of color blocking so that similar flowers are placed in the planter together. Start with tall flowers in the back and then add shorter flowers in a contrasting color in front of them.
Now you want to make sure that your glass bowls are very clean. So I'm going to pull it from the edge and I'm going to take a gray Crayola crayon and I am going to draw right on my bowl. The next step is you want to take some silver glitter glue and I'm going to paint my jar with the glitter glue in a crosshatch pattern. I'm going to be using these out of doors, so you definitely have to use some kind of a sealer. The next thing I'm going to do is take some fairy lights and put them right down inside of my jar.
I grabbed 1 basket and 10 of these wooden pieces. I set to work staining them using these easy staining cloths. Once they were dry, I set up 2 of the wooden pieces vertically, and then I added the rest of my wooden pieces horizontally. Used some 1-inch nails and put those in place. I had purchased these 4-inch house numbers. I nailed these into place. The next thing I did to finish it up was to add some pretty flowers.
I grabbed 2 hanging baskets and liners from Dollar Tree for this epic garden project. I unclipped the chains off of one of the baskets and placed the liners in each basket. Next, I used sharp scissors to cut a slit in the middle of each section and in the center hole at the bottom. Then I grabbed some petunias from my local garden center and carefully placed them into each hole. Planting from the outside worked best for me. I set it aside and repeated the same steps for the second basket. Next, I filled the center of each basket with potting soil and watered it. I gently placed one basket on top of the other and secured them together using 4 black zip ties. At that point, I decided to add in a few more flowers on the edge where the baskets meet.
I'm just going to start working on adding these flowers. I'm going to add some hot glue. I'm just going to work those all out like that. I'm going to go with the next one and I'm going to go around. I'm going to get my wire cutters and cut some of these apart and then I'm going to try and put it right where I want it. And I'm just going to try and wire right in the base. Cut these ends. I'm going to turn this back over and do the same thing on the other side of the nest. There are hooks on our little birds.
We're going to make a really cute outdoor decoration using hangers and a shower curtain from Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm doing is just spreading out the shower curtain on a big table, and I want the colorful side to be facing up. Now I'm going to grab my hangers, I'm only using 4, and I'm going to lay these out in a pattern that resembles a butterfly. Once I'm happy with the shape, I'm going to use a little hot glue to put these together. I want this to be nice and sturdy, so I want to make sure that the center of my butterfly, where those hangers touch, that those kind of overlap. And I'm going to use a lot of hot glue to really make this stick. Now this is a pretty big shower curtain, so to make this a little bit more manageable, I'm just going to hold the butterfly in place and cut around the shower curtain roughly the size of the butterfly. But I'm going to flip the whole thing over. And now I want to work on securing the shower curtain to the hangers. I'll flip it back over. The shower curtain is now attached, and I'm just going to go through, do some detail work with my scissors, and I have a set of battery-powered fairy lights. I'm going to glue the battery pack to the center, and then I'm just going to use a bit of hot glue to tack the lights in place. For the center of the butterfly, I want something weatherproof, so I just grabbed a scrap of wood and cut it down to size, and I'm going to paint it with black craft paint. This is going to act as the body of the butterfly, but it's also going to add some stability to the whole piece and give me a place to hang it. When everything is completely dry, which I did let sit for 12 hours, and now I have this colorful butterfly on my deck. It looks so good out here. And at night, I can turn on the lights and light it up. I hope this inspired you to make some fun outdoor decor using hangers and a shower curtain.
For today's project, I'm going to head down to my local Walmart and grab my favorite shower curtain. I need a cool design. Then I'm also going to head on over to the Dollar Tree and grab some of these mats that they have. I'm going to need 4 of these for this project. I'm going to place them upside down, put them in a square so they're all together. Make sure the seams fit up nice and neat. Once I get those together, the next step was I grabbed some duct tape and I put that down to hold those seams together. Now, if I needed to add a few more, I could have, but I wanted to make sure I got it from front to back and from side to side. That'll make it nice and strong right there. Once I get that cut off and everything, I want to make sure that I also smooth it out so I got a smooth surface. Next, I'm going to take that shower curtain and lay it across my table, but I want to make sure that I had the design facing up. That way I know exactly where to lay it out. Once I do that, I'm going to take it out and go ahead and cut around the edges. I want to leave about 3 to 4 inches of overlap on each side. These shower curtains cut real easy. Just take a pair of nice sharp scissors and do it. Next is going to take some spray adhesive, and I'm going to spray this all along the back of these mats, even getting on the duct tape that I did. Want to make sure I get the edges and all around the inside and every square inch that I can. Want to work a little fast, make sure I get it on there, and then I'm going to lay the shower curtain. But I'm not going to lay the whole thing at one time. Just do half of it and then smooth it out and get the wrinkles out. Then I'm going to push over the other half using my hand, just get out all the wrinkles that I can. Now there's some that are still there, and that's because it was folded up in the package. What I'm going to do is take an iron and place it on there and get all the wrinkles out. Now I'm going to flip it back over, grab my hot glue gun, and go very easy, just a few inches at a time, and lay over the edges of the shower curtain onto the back of the mat. Now it's a little warm, so you want to be careful, just light touches so you don't burn yourself. Once I get that all laid out, I'm going to make sure it's nice and smooth, get all the edges on all 4 sides done, and then I'm going to start folding the corners. So I fold one side first like this, put out a little hot glue, and then I'm going to fold the next edge over. I'm going to hold that down for about 15 to 20 seconds until it dries up and it holds it. Now here's a little secret. I'm going to put some hot glue on the back of this mat and just lay it there. What this does is this grips as I'm doing it. Next, what's going to happen is I'm going to get some water-based polyurethane and I'm going to spray this mat. That's going to help waterproof it. Once I get this on and it's ready to dry, I can put this in place, and it goes great in my bathroom. It actually, with this beach scene, it matches the decor that I already have hanging up in my bathroom, is that I can also take it outside because it's going to go great with my Adirondack chairs. I think it turned out great, and it looks really amazing. I hope this inspired you to build your own outdoor shower curtain bath mat.
For this project, you're going to start with a pillow insert. The next step is you're going to get a shower curtain, and you can use this you can use an old shower curtain that maybe you have around the house, or you can buy one really inexpensive. I found this one on Amazon for less than $10. My pillow inserts are 14 inches by 14 inches, so I actually cut down my shower curtain to be a little bit. And so what you're gonna do is you're going to take whatever measurement for the pillow insert you get and you're gonna add an inch. So I'm gonna make mine 15 inches Now the back side we're gonna make a little bit different because we're gonna create a little pocket so that we can slip the pillow into it. All right, so for the back side of the pillow, we're gonna create a pocket. So I'm gonna take my fabric and I'm gonna fold it in half. So once I folded it in half, one side of this fold is going to be the same dimensions as the front side. So it's gonna be 15 inches. So we're just gonna go ahead and mark that. The other side is actually going to be half of the dimensions of the pillow, which is 14 inches, divided by 2, which is 7, plus 4 inches. So it's gonna be 11 inches total. So I'm gonna start by cutting up the 11-inch side from my 15-inch mark. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this fold in half so that we have 2 pieces that are the same size. So before I actually cut the fold, I'm gonna take some pins just to secure the fabric together so that it doesn't shift when I cut it. Perfect. All right, so now we have 2 pieces that are the same size that we're gonna use to create our back. So now I'm gonna take my fabric and I'm gonna fold it about 1/2 inch. We're trying to create a really nice clean line for our pocket. So I'm gonna do about 1/2 inch. And I'm probably gonna pin this a little bit just because this fabric isn't as easy to work with. And I wanna keep it in the same spot as I work my way over with my iron. Okay, so that's like a little more manageable. So I'm gonna take this corner, not burn myself, be careful. You're just looking to create like a really clean edge. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the other piece of the back panel. All right, so once we've ironed, we're actually going to do a little straight stitch across the back with, I'm gonna hand sew this, so stay tuned for that. Before we get to this step, I wanted to preface it with you could, if depending on the fabric that you're using, use glue for this project instead of sewing. If you want to make this a no-sew project, you can use glue instead. So that side is finished. We're going to move on to the next one. Here is my front piece. I'm going to be laying it down outside in because we're going to be sewing or gluing, depending on what fabric you have. You want the presentation sides to be facing each other inwards. I'm laying my first piece of my back down, and then the other part where we stitched, they're going to basically overlap each other. And then we're going to make sure that all the corners match, and then I'm going to take pins and I'm going to go around the perimeter of the pillow, and I'm going to pin it all so it stays in place so we can straight stitch or glue around it. I just want the fabric to stay in place. I'm just gonna wrap this up right here because it's right next to where I started. And like I did on the straight stitch across, I'm going to insert my needle through, and I'm gonna take the thread that is attached, wrap it around a couple times, hold at the base, and pull through to help that knot stay right where I want it to be. And one thing that we're going to do before we actually flip this right side out, we're going to clip the corners of the pillow. This will just help give it a little bit of space. When you are trying to insert the pillow, it'll actually pop out the edge. All right, so now that we've clipped all of that, we're going to take our pillow and flip it right side out. All right, so here is the pillow. Okay, so it's time to show the buttons. So my first button's gonna go here. I'm going to start from the inside. Just wanna make sure I hold it in place. And I have brown thread to go with my brown buttons. I'm just going to secure it in place. All right, so for the last piece of this, to keep this button in place, I'm going to go up through but behind the button with my needle and thread. So it's just underneath, and I'm gonna wrap around the back. And then I'm gonna go back in and finish my, my thread on the inside of the pillow cover. Now I'm going to use ribbon, and I'm going to create a little loop to adhere to the underside of the back of this panel. Now I've already pre-measured the perfect size ribbon that I want to use, and so I'm just going to create a loop We're gonna flip this to the underside. I'm actually gonna trim this a little bit more. I'm gonna attach it to this double side seam that we created. Okay, so now these 2 loops have been secured, so have the buttons. I'm gonna go ahead and put my pillow insert back in the pillowcase. And then I'm gonna take my loop of my ribbon, wrap it around the buttons, and now you don't have to worry about anything becoming unsecure. And you have a new waterproof pillow to put outside. Well, there you have it. My shower curtain pillows turned out really great. They were very easy to make, and I think they look amazing on my outdoor patio furniture.
I headed down to the hardware store and I found some cedar fence pickets that are only $3 a piece. So I grabbed some and headed back to the house. Once I get those done, I'm going to cut a couple of these pieces at 20 inches. I'm going to need 3 of these. One's going to be a bottom and 2 sides, front and back. I'm also going to cut some 2-inch strips because these are going to be some supports. But wood glue is going to be your friend in this whole project because we're going to use some nails and everything, but glue is what really makes it hold together. Any part that you do, make sure you use the wood glue and the nails to hold it in place. These little support strips are going to be on the back of this project. Once I get those done, I'm going to glue along the edge on the bottom so they can join 2 pieces together. Once I get that glued up, I'm going to use these brad nails again, and they're only 1 inch long to hold it in place. 3, 4, or 5 is all you need for each side because once that glue sets up, it's going to be super strong. And don't go light. Use as much glue as you want, and if it drips out, just use a paper towel just to clean it up. Once I get the front and the back done, it's time to do the sides. What I can do is, again, using the wood glue, use it, and put the base in. And I'm going to make sure these sides get also some brad nails. Make sure you keep your hands out of the way, and if you don't have the brad nails, you can definitely use some little screws to hold it in place. Once I get this done, I need some drain holes, so I'm going to put 3 of them on the bottom. Once I get that done, I'm going to take a plastic bag or any kind of liner that is of your choosing, and I'm going to staple one side in place. Once I get that done, it's time to go ahead and push it and get it all the way in because we're going to need some spare. Go ahead and staple this side up also. And once you get that all done and stapled up, it's time to trim it. That way we can get it all nice and neat looking. But I took some 1-inch strips of these cedar fence and I wanted to make a trim around the whole box. So I mitered the joints at 45 degrees and put a little trim all the way around. Again, using the brad nails to hold it in place. Once I get that done, just a little bit of sanding makes it look really nice. The next step is to go ahead and take some angles and put those down with the screws that come with it. These are what it's going to hold it onto the side of the windows, but I don't have to drill into the side of the house. So once I do that, get the potting soil all in there and all even, then I'm going to plant my flowers. I want to make them look really nice. It doesn't take too much because they are going to get bigger. I'm going to make sure I have them all watered, and look at this. They go right into place. Nice, just sit there. And I didn't have to drill into the side of the house, into the stucco or the siding. And I think they turned out great. Can you believe that I built these planters for less than $8 a piece? And the great thing about using cedar is it is rot resistant and repels insects. I hope this inspired you to build your own DIY window planter box. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.